Hi, my name is Carmen Willings, and I'm a teacher of students with visual impairments, and I'm also the founder and developer of the online resource Teaching Students with Visual Impairments, found at www.teachingvisuallyimpaired.com. This presentation, entitled Developing Smarter Goals, will walk you through the process of writing IEPs for your students and how to ensure your goals are smarter. My objectives for this presentation are to cover the foundations of all good IEPs, which begins with a comprehensive understanding of the student. I also plan to share strategies for selecting goal areas, identify what makes a goal smarter, and walk through the process of writing smarter goals for each of your students. Before I start the presentation, I feel I need to start with a disclaimer. I have worked in several states and with many different districts, schools, and teams to know that there may be differences in interpretation of law and guidelines depending on who's currently in charge. For this reason, I'm going to cover key components and how to make goals smarter, but in the end, you will need to ensure that you write them in a way that aligns with your state, district, and school standards. Every IEP must include a description of the student's current performance and skills in all areas of concerns. For students who are blind or visually impaired, there are key components that must be included to ensure you have a comprehensive understanding of the student. These include both formal and informal information from medical eye reports, the functional vision and learning media assessment, results from any low vision evaluation and assistive technology evaluation, as well as data and test results from other team members. It should explain how the visual impairment affects the student's progress in the general education curriculum and must also include information on how the student is progressing in all areas of the expanded core curriculum and identify strengths and any needs in those areas. In order to know each student, you need to know each student's unique visual needs. This begins by reviewing the current eye report or neurological report when CVI is suspected or diagnosed. I include a summary of the medical eye report in the present levels of performance section of the IEP, including the date of the most recent eye report on file. Having a current eye report is critical to understanding the student's vision and potential implications and impact it can have. In order to be helpful information in the IEP, you must first know how to interpret the information, understand the implications of the visual diagnosis, and potential educational impact, and then put the information into understandable terms for the team. Be sure to include the visual diagnosis with a brief description, identify if the condition is progressive or expected to improve, if there is limitation in visual fields, and if the student has been prescribed glasses and the purpose as well as when they are to be worn. Finally, identify if the doctor has identified any restrictions. In order to ensure you know the student and the student's needs, it's also important to ensure that each student's functional vision evaluation and learning media assessment is up to date. I include the summary from my most recent functional vision evaluation report in the present level of performance. I review the summary annually and determine if it's still an accurate representation of the student's visual performance. When there is a change, it's important to update the summary, and if there's a change in vision, you will also want to update the functional vision evaluation. Of course, you will also want to update it every 3 years and prior to significant transitions. You will also need to include the student's strengths and needs and how their visual impairment is currently impacting their education. The results of the most recent low vision evaluation should be included in the present level, along with information on any optics that were prescribed. During the low vision evaluation, the student may be prescribed magnifiers for near viewing, a monocular or binoculars for distance viewing, or specialty glasses. It is important to not just provide the student with these devices, but also adequate time to instruct the student in the proper care and use of the devices to ensure the student can use the devices independently and readily and select the right tool for the task. As you consider goal areas, think about ways to help the student be as proficient as possible with each of their low vision devices. Be sure you know if the current learning medium is effective and know the areas that the student will need instruction in. You will need this information to complete the special factors section as you determine the need for Braille instruction and also to identify the need for alternative formats of instructional materials. When determining the need for Braille instruction, Always consider the student's individual needs and not whether the teacher has the skill or time to instruct in Braille. When the student will be instructed in Braille, include how the student will be instructed and be sure you have goals to support Braille instruction. For those students for whom Braille instruction is not indicated, the IEP should include a statement to indicate that the absence of Braille instruction will not impair the student's ability to read and write efficiently. You may want to say, the results of functional vision evaluation and learning media assessment indicate the student is not yet at a level of literacy instruction, or the results of the functional vision evaluation and learning media assessment indicate that the absence of Braille instruction will not impede the student's ability to read and write. You will also need information from the functional vision and learning media assessment to identify vision-specific student supports to meet the student's unique visual needs. These include environmental, instructional, material, and classroom testing, along with other student supports the student may need. I find a reference list of possible accommodations to meet students' unique needs to be helpful. I created one for students following the standard course of study and another for students with multiple disabilities. Of course, there may be accommodations unique to your student not listed here, but it is a good starting point. Only select those that are really needed by your student and justified by the results of the functional vision evaluation. As you write accommodations, always reflect on whether there is a skill the student can be instructed in that would minimize the need for accommodations and allow them to adapt their own environments and be as independent as possible. Remember that not all accommodations are available in college or in the workplace, and your ultimate goal is to prepare the student for those environments as well as for independence at home. In order to know which skills within the ECC that you'll need to focus on, it is important to conduct an ECC Annual Needs Consideration Checklist. APH, Texas School for the Blind, and Iowa are just a few that have created ECC checklists, and I've also created a free checklist that is available on my website and pictured here. When writing goals and objectives for the student, it is important to prioritize the ECC areas you will work on. You can't write a goal for every area of need, but you can skillfully embed all the ECC areas into your instruction. By this I mean, focus on writing goals for those skills that only you can teach and embed the other areas of the ECC into your instruction. Don't forget, you'll need to plan to regularly monitor the student's mastery of skills within the ECC. The student's level of proficiency may change as they progress in years, and they will need to develop a deeper understanding and greater independence in those areas. Not every student will need instruction in every area within the ECC. Remember, your role is to teach skills that the student needs instruction in as a result of their visual impairment because they're not able to visually observe and learn in the same way as others, but instead need alternative means of instruction. Also, remember you are not solely responsible to instruct the student in all areas of the ECC. Focus on those areas that require your specialized instruction and only you can teach. Your role is to orchestrate the ECC and ensure it is being addressed throughout the day by the entire team, including the family. An ECC goal bank can be very helpful in thinking of goal areas as well as for choosing your wording. I have included ECC goal pages on my website and also put together goals in a free printable resource pictured here. Keep in mind these are just a starting point, and as is, they are not smart, but I plan to go step by step through the process of making goals smart so you can individualize the goals for your student and ensure they meet the criteria of being smarter. My favorite tool for determining if I'm providing the right amount of service is the Texas School for the Blind's Visual Impairment Scale of Service Intensity, pictured here. Of all the tools I've used, I think this one captures the student's need for direct service and consultation the best. The developers of the visit also recommend that you reflect on those skills that you are the only one who can teach. Consider which skill the student will need ongoing instruction in and what skills will prepare the student for the next transition. When considering the amount of consultation to provide, consider what skills you can model to team members, what ways you can support the team, and what you can learn from the team members to further support the student. In this way, teaching the ECC becomes a team effort and will become much more beneficial to the student. The IEP must contain information about a student's goals, which needs to be updated at least once a year. Goal statements specify what a student is expected to learn in the coming year. When writing goals, make sure you are writing goals that are SMARTer. SMARTer is an acronym that is pictured here with corresponding icons. S with an icon of a target is for specific. M with an icon of a bar chart is for measurable. A with an icon of a chart with an upward trend is for achievable. R with an icon of a magnifier is for relevant. T with an icon of an alarm clock is for timely. E with a check mark box is for educational as aligned with the core curriculum. And the last R with an icon of a person walking is for realistic. Starting with the S, goals must be specific. The goal must specify who it is written for. Make sure the goal isn't generic and is written specifically for the student. Also, it should go without saying, but always make sure you use the correct student's name. I have seen IEPs written where goals have been copied from other IEPs and the TVI forgot to change the name. If you like the way you worded a goal on another student's IEP, it is okay to use it, but always double check you have the name and the correct spelling and also the correct gender. The goal should also describe what the student is specifically going to accomplish, otherwise known as the target behavior. For example, will tactually read simple sentences presented in embossed braille. It may also be necessary to indicate where it will take place. Will it take place during one-on-one instruction, in small group settings, or generalized across settings? Indicate when it will occur, for example, when following a directive independently or when presented with a choice. How is the student going to do it? For example, using proper tracking patterns and without scrubbing. Finally, there are times when it is also helpful to reference why the goal is important. For example, in order to develop an alternative mode of reading. The next letter in the word SMARTer is the M for measurable. This means there needs to be concrete evidence that the student has accomplished the goal or objective. It should detail how much or how many is needed and be clear how you will know when it is accomplished. An example of a measurable goal is, by the end of the IEP duration, the student will type phrases, no punctuation, using correct hand position with 80% accuracy and a minimum of 10 words per minute on 4 out of 5 opportunities during one-on-one instruction. This goal clearly states what needs to happen in measurable terms for it to be accomplished. To ensure goals are measurable, you need to determine the criteria that will demonstrate the goal has been achieved. Asking yourself these questions will help you write goals that are written in a way that makes it clear whether the goal has been accomplished. Ask yourself these questions. What is the frequency, or how often will the behavior occur? What is the duration or length of time the behavior should last? What is the latency, or how long will it take for the student to initiate the behavior after being given a cue? What is the endurance or length of time it must repeatedly be performed to be achieved? And finally, what is the accuracy you expect to see? The next letter in the word SMARTer is an A for achievable. The IEP team must consider how a student's specific disability impacts his or her ability to advance appropriately towards attaining his or her annual goals. To make goals achievable, stretch the student so they are challenged but defined well enough that they can be achieved. When determining if a goal is achievable, consider the following. What is the student's current functioning? Does the goal build on current skills? Does previous data support the goal? How quickly has the student achieved previous goals? Will changes in the amount of service delivery impact achievability or impact the rate of progression? It is also important to know the student's motivation and work habits. The next letter in the word SMARTer is an R for relevant. The goal must be relevant to the student's individual needs. Not every student will need the same goal simply because they may have the same visual diagnosis, visual acuity, or same age or grade level. It should also be a goal or objective the student is willing to work toward. As a teacher of students with visual impairments, every goal you write must be relevant to the expanded core curriculum. Remember, your role is to support the ECC across settings. Consider if the goal is something you need to instruct the student in, or if it can be better addressed by another team member with support from you. The next letter in the word SMARTER is a T for timely. For a goal to be timely, it must be grounded within a time frame. For example, when asked to complete a written assignment, the student will independently load the paper in the Braille writer with 90% accuracy on 4 or 5 opportunities within a week. The next letter in the word SMARTER is an E for educational. In many states, goals must be related to grade level standards and content. Although at first this may seem challenging, it is possible to weave the ECC goal areas into the standards. For example, foundational concepts can align to ELA and science standards. Communication fits into ELA. Body awareness fits into social studies, health, and PE. Listening fits into ELA, social studies, and fine arts. Sensory efficiency fits into ELA and science. Fine and gross motor fits into science, math, fine arts, and PE. And self-concept and emotional fits into health. The last letter in the word SMARTER is an R for realistic. For a goal to be realistic, it must be feasible for the student to achieve. This really goes hand in hand with whether the goal is achievable. While Achievable focuses on the student's present level and the doability of the goal, Realistic focuses on the percentages and criteria for success and ensuring it is reasonable. Specify and limit the field. Keep in mind that selecting an object when only 2 are presented could just be chance. If the choice is a preference, be sure to include a non-preferred item to ensure the student is understanding the choice. When deciding on the percent accuracy, remember no one is perfect. Don't write a goal for 100% unless the goal is regarding safety, because obviously you wouldn't want a student to cross the street safely with 80% accuracy. Decide on a percentage that is reasonable, but not 50% or less, as that is also no more than chance. Also, be sure to specify how many times it must be achieved. A student hasn't mastered a goal if they can only do it once. Specify on how many opportunities to ensure consistency. It is important to scaffold goals to not only ensure the student can demonstrate skills under controlled environments, but build on skills until the student can independently apply the skill to demonstrate success. Emerging goals are those that are dependent on support from a teacher. For example, the student may need to complete the goal with physical prompts, hand-under-hand assistance, or verbal prompts. Developing goals are those that reflect a student who is not dependent on an adult, but is still learning to be independent. For example, the student may need guidance. Achieving goals are those that indicate the student is not only able to demonstrate a skill, but can initiate it. For example, the student will initiate the activity or answer questions when asked. Extending goals are those that monitor the student's ability to apply the skill across settings. For example, the student will independently apply the skill at different times and in different settings with detail and following the correct steps. Using the information presented so far, let's compare goals to see what makes a good goal and what makes a bad goal. John will improve his Braille skills, and Dave will maintain and follow a schedule. Are bad examples. Although they specify the student's name, and that's great, hopefully it's the right name, they are vague and not something that can be measured. There is no way from looking at these goals when they would be achieved. These goals can be tweaked to make them smarter by specifying the target behavior, condition, and the criteria for success. The first goal can be changed to, John will write all Braille letters on a Braille writer with 95% accuracy on 4 or 5 opportunities. There is now a clear target behavior, write all Braille letters, a condition, on a Braille writer, and a criteria for success, 95% accuracy on 4 or 5 opportunities. The second goal can be changed to, Dave will select a schedule format and maintain the method in order to study for tests and complete assignments with 80% accuracy on 4 or 5 scheduled checks. This is now a clear target behavior, select a schedule format, and a condition, maintain a method, along with a criteria for success, 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 scheduled checks. Pictured on this slide is the Bloom's taxonomy pyramid, as I'm going to suggest you use Bloom's taxonomy to scaffold your goals. Bloom's taxonomy, if you're not familiar, is a classification of learning objectives within education which originated by Benjamin Bloom in the 1950s, and it describes several categories of cognitive learning. Bloom's taxonomy divides educational objectives into domains. Within the domains, learning at the higher levels is dependent on having attained prerequisite knowledge and skills at lower levels. The lowest or most basic level is remember or knowledge. Once the student has basic knowledge, they can advance to the second tier, which is to understand. After the student understands, they can apply. After they can apply, they can then analyze. And after they are able to analyze, they can evaluate, and finally, they can create. When you're writing your goals, think about what you're going to focus on and be sure your choice of wording reflects the right skill and skill level. In other words, if you want a student to visually locate a match from a field of 3, don't write the goal that the student will say which 2 items match. The skill then becomes dependent on the student's language skills. Also, consider the level of the skill and be sure the student has mastered prerequisite knowledge and skills at lower levels before he or she can move to more advanced goals. All goals must include target behaviors, the condition, and the criteria. The target behavior is the what. It describes what you want the learner to do in specific measurable terms. This statement should contain an action verb. Avoid difficult to define verbs that are open to interpretation. The condition is the where, when, and how. It describes the circumstances under which the student will learn. For example, with no more than 1 verbal prompt upon receiving assignment, etc. The criteria are specified as acceptable level of achievement desired. They tell how well the learner must perform. For example, 80% on 4 of 5 opportunities. Now I'm going to show you the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy along with the action words associated with each level. I will then provide you with examples of each type of goal in 5 key areas. These include Braille, low vision device use, visual efficiency, video magnifier use, and technology skills. I will identify the target behavior, condition, and criteria for each of those goals. The first level at the base of the triangle is the remember or knowledge level. This is the foundational level, and students must master this level before they advance to higher levels of independence. The goal is considered a remember or knowledge goal if it focuses on the student's ability to recall previously learned materials, facts, terms, basic concepts, and answers. The following action words can fall into this foundational level: arrange, copy, count, draw, identify, label, list, locate, match, name, outline, recite, record, repeat, select, sequence, state, tell, and write. The first example is for Braille. The student will tactually identify all 22.5 contractions presented as whole words in embossed Braille with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is tactually identify all 22.5 contractions. The condition is presented as whole words in embossed Braille, and the criteria is with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal can be made smarter by specifying that the student will read the words when presented within simple sentences. That way, the goal focuses on her reading them within context rather than just reading vocabulary cards. The goal now reads, the student will tactually identify all 22.5 contractions presented as whole words within simple sentences in embossed Braille with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. The example for low vision devices is the student will locate a distant target using a 4x monocular with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is locate a distant target. The condition is using a 4x monocular, and the criteria with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal has all the key components, but I think it could be made smarter. I think it would be helpful to add a size criterion to the target. It is much easier to locate a large target versus a small target, so depending on the student's current abilities locating a target, I may want to include an approximate size or provide a possible range in sizes, such as 2 to 4 inch target. Also, I think I'll change the word target to object and also specify at what distance. I'm going to specify 10 feet or further for this goal. The revised goal now reads, the student will locate a 2 to 4 inch object at a distance of 10 feet using a 4x monocular with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. The example for visual efficiency is the student will match identical line drawing pictures from a field of 12 similar pictures during one-on-one instruction with minimal auditory and visual distractors with 75% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is match identical line drawing pictures. The condition is from a field of 12 similar pictures during one-on-one instruction with minimal distractors. And the criteria, 75% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal can be made smarter by specifying the complexity of the line drawing. The student is currently able to match similar drawings, but I'm going to increase the complexity by specifying that he will select from drawings that vary only by inner details. The goal now reads, the student will match identical line drawing pictures that differ only in inner details and patterns from a field of 12 similar pictures presented on a solid, uncluttered surface during one-on-one instruction with minimal auditory and visual distractors with 75% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. The example for video magnifier use is a student will write answers within a defined space using a video magnifier while looking at the monitor with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is write answers. The condition is within a defined space using a video magnifier while looking at the monitor. And the criteria is 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This ended up being a challenging activity for my student, and I modified the activity by writing his answer in the given space with a highlighter, and then I had him trace over my answer. You can always amend a goal, or you can comment on the added supports in the progress reports and adapt the wording on the subsequent IEP. I updated the goal to state that the student would trace within a given space. The goal now reads, the student will trace highlighted answers within a defined space using a video magnifier while looking at the monitor with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. The example for keyboarding is the student will type the home row keys on a QWERTY keyboard using the correct fingers with 95% accuracy and 10 words per minute on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is type the home row keys on a QWERTY keyboard. The condition is using correct fingers, and the criteria is 95% accuracy and 10 words per minute on 4 of 5 opportunities. You'll notice in the picture that the keyboard is covered with what I call a sleeve. I made this adjustment as the student was visually searching for the keys even after reminders. To make this goal smarter, I reworded it to say that he needs to type the home row keys on a covered QWERTY keyboard. The goal now reads, the student will type the home row keys on a covered QWERTY keyboard using the correct fingers with 95% accuracy and 10 words per minute on 4 of 5 opportunities. Once a student has a basic knowledge of the skill area, it is time to progress to demonstrating an understanding or comprehension of the skill. Understanding and comprehension goals focus on the student's ability to grasp meaning, explain or restate ideas, or in other ways demonstrate understanding of facts and ideas learned. The following action words can fall into this level: choose, confirm, convert, demonstrate, describe, determine, differentiate, discriminate, discuss, estimate, explain, infer, interpret, locate, match, paraphrase, pick, practice, predict, recognize, relate, respond, select, summarize, tell, and translate. A Braille example of a comprehend goal is as follows. When presented with an uncontracted word, the student will convert the word to contracted Braille following Braille rules with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is convert the word to contracted Braille. The condition is following Braille rules and presented with uncontracted Braille. And the criteria is 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A way to make this goal smarter would be to specify how many words the student is presented with on each opportunity. I'm also going to specify that this task will take place in a one-on-one setting. The goal now reads, when presented with 10 uncontracted words in a one-on-one setting, the student will convert the words to contracted Braille following Braille rules with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A low vision device example for a comprehend goal is as follows. The student will scan to locate 10 3-inch objects placed around the room using a 6x monocular with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is scan to locate 10 3-inch objects. The condition is placed around the room and using a 6x monocular. And the criteria is 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. I'm going to make this goal smarter by indicating the complexity of the environment and specify on different visual planes. The goal will now read, the student will scan to locate 10 3-inch objects placed around the room on different planes in visually complex environments using a 6x monocular with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A visual efficiency example of a comprehend goal is as follows. The student will visually discriminate to locate and match between 8 similar-looking images with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this example, the target behavior is visually discriminate. The condition is between 8 similar-looking images, and the criteria is with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. Like the previous goal, this goal could be made smarter by indicating the complexity of the environment and whether the object is placed in front of materials that are high contrast. The goal now reads, the student will recognize and obtain 8 familiar 1-inch objects placed around a visually complex room but against contrasting surfaces and on different visual planes with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A video magnifier example of a comprehend goal is as follows. The student will demonstrate proper use of a video magnifier by adjusting controls upon request to meet demands of a task with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is demonstrate proper use of a video magnifier by adjusting the controls. The condition is upon request to meet demands of a task, and the criteria is 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. The goal can be made even smarter by identifying which controls the student was learning to use. The goal now reads, the student will demonstrate proper use of a video magnifier by adjusting zoom in and zoom out controls upon request to meet demands of a task with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A keyboarding example of a comprehend goal is as follows. The student will determine the correct shortcut commands to perform a minimum of 8 functions in a word processing document. For example, cut, paste, select, bold, italics, enlarge font, etc., with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is determine the correct shortcut commands. The condition is to perform a minimum of 8 functions, and the criteria 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. I'm going to make this goal smarter by specifying those commands that need to be learned so there's no confusion if the student were to move to another school. The goal now reads, the student will determine the correct shortcut commands to perform a minimum of 8 functions in a word processing document. Copy, cut, paste, select all, bold, italics, enlarge font size, reduce font size, with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. Once a student has a deeper understanding and comprehension, you will focus on the application of the skill or the student's ability to use learned materials in new situations. The following action words can fall into this level: apply, build, construct, demonstrate, generalize, illustrate, initiate, interpret, interview, modify, operate, practice, prepare, produce, relate, report, role play, sketch, schedule, show, solve, transfer, use, and utilize. A Braille example of an apply goal is the student will apply knowledge of strong group signs to produce 6 simple sentences containing strong group signs CH, OU, SH, ST, TH, WH, following Braille rules with 85% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is apply knowledge of strong group signs to produce 6 simple sentences containing strong group signs. The condition is following Braille rules, and the criteria 85% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by specifying that the teacher is to read her short sentences that contain at least one strong group sign. I also want to specify that she needs to achieve 85% accuracy with each of the group signs and not as a whole. The goal now reads, the student will apply knowledge of strong group signs by writing orally presented simple sentences that contain at least one strong group sign, CH, OU, SH, ST, TH, WH, following Braille rules with 85% accuracy with each group sign on 4 of 5 opportunities. A low vision device example for an apply goal is the student will use her dome magnifier to access reading materials throughout the school day with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is use her dome magnifier to access reading materials. The condition, throughout the school day, and the criteria, 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal can be made smarter by stating that she will access standard size print materials. The goal now reads, the student will use her dome magnifier to access standard size print reading materials, 12 point and smaller, throughout the school day with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A visual efficiency example of an apply goal is a student will modify lighting by wearing sun filters independently and without prompts with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, a target behavior is modify lighting by wearing sun filters. The condition is independently and without prompts. And the criteria, 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. I think this goal can be made better if instead of saying accuracy, I said consistency. Accuracy leads you to believe he is wearing the glasses wrong, while consistency is that he is wearing them inconsistently in bright lighting. The goal now reads, the student will modify lighting by wearing sun filters independently and without prompts with 90% consistency in bright lighting on 4 of 5 opportunities. A video magnifier example of an apply goal is a student will initiate use of video magnifier to complete reading and writing tasks in the general education classes with 80% consistency on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is initiate use of video magnifier to complete reading and writing tasks. The condition is the general education classes, and the criteria, 80% consistency on 4 of 5 opportunities. The size of material the student is presented with will impact her initiation and use of the device. If she is presented with large print, there is less likelihood she will need to use the video magnifier. For this reason, I'm going to specify standard size print, and the goal now reads, the student will initiate use of the video magnifier to complete reading and writing tasks presented in standard size print, 12-point font and smaller, in the general education classes with 80% consistency on 4 of 5 opportunities. A keyboarding example of an apply goal is the student will generalize learned keyboarding skills to type written assignments in his general education classrooms with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is generalized learned keyboarding skills to type written assignments. The condition is in his general education classrooms. And the criteria, 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by specifying the type of assignment or how long the assignment is. Is he just writing lists or will he write short responses and essays? The goal now reads, the student will generalize learned keyboarding skills to type short responses and essay assignments in his general education classrooms with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. The fourth level is analyze or analysis. It is an analysis goal if the goal focuses on the student's ability to separate materials into component parts and show relationship between those parts. The following action words can fall into this level: analyze, calculate, categorize, classify, compare, contrast, deduce, detect, determine, develop, diagnose, differentiate, discriminate, distinguish, estimate, evaluate, examine, identify, infer, inventory, investigate, outline, predict, question, relate, research, separate, solve, sort, and test. A Braille example of an analyze goal is the student will categorize words by creating columns on Braille Writer and grouping words according to task with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is categorize words by creating columns on Braille Writer. The condition is grouping words according to task, and the criteria, 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal can be made smarter by indicating if the student will adjust the margins independently or with support. Because I'm specifying that she will participate in setting the margins, I'm going to drop the accuracy just slightly to 75%. The goal now reads, the student will categorize words by creating columns by setting margins with fading physical support on a Braille Writer and grouping words according to task with 75% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A low vision device example of an analyze goal is the student will predict the need for low vision devices by obtaining tools that will be needed in the new location prior to transition with 75% accuracy on 3 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is predict the need for low vision devices by obtaining tools that will be needed in a new location. The condition is prior to transition, and the criteria is 75% accuracy on 3 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by including a list of devices. This includes such as sun filters, a dome magnifier, and a monocular. The goal now reads, the student will predict the need for low vision devices, including her sun filters, dome magnifier, and monocular, by obtaining tools that will be needed in the new location prior to transition with 75% accuracy on 3 of 5 opportunities. A visual efficiency example of an analyze goal is the student will compare similar pictures and identify similarities and differences between pictures made with dimensional shapes and lines with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is compare similar pictures and identify similarities and differences between pictures. The condition is made with dimensional shapes and lines, and the criteria, 80% on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by identifying how many differences he needs to identify during each opportunity. Since I'm really focusing on him locating what is different, I'm also going to remove the word similarities. I'm also going to specify that this is on an uncluttered surface. The goal now reads, the student will compare similar pictures and identify 5 differences between pictures made with dimensional shapes and lines and presented on an uncluttered surface with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A video magnifier example of an analyze goal is the student will research and trial features of video magnifiers and identify pros and cons to each model of 3 different styles with 90% accuracy on 3 of 4 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is research and trial features of video magnifiers and identify the pros and cons of each model. The condition is of 3 different styles, and the criteria is 90% accuracy on 3 of 4 opportunities. This goal can be made smarter by specifying the different types of video magnifiers, such as desktop model, portable tablet style, and folding portable camera with USB attachment, because those are the types I want him to explore. The goal now reads, the student will research and trial features of video magnifiers and identify the pros and cons to each model of 3 different styles: desktop, tablet-based, folding portable camera with 90% accuracy on 3 of 4 opportunities. A technology example of an analyzed goal is the student will identify the correct keyboard commands to navigate the computer and internet without using a mouse with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is identify the correct keyboard commands to navigate the computer and internet. The condition is without using a mouse, and the criteria is 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by specifying the keyboard commands that need to be mastered. The goal now reads, the student will identify the correct keyboard commands: open program from start menu, open program on desktop, close window, minimize window, maximize window, and move between open windows to navigate the computer and internet without using a mouse with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. Level 5 is evaluate. If the goal focuses on the student's ability to judge the worth of materials against stated criteria, it is an evaluate level goal. The following action words can fall into this level: appraise, argue, assess, choose, compare, conclude, critique, criticize, decide, estimate, evaluate, judge, justify, measure, predict, prioritize, prove, rank, rate, revise, score, select, solve, validate, value, and test. A Braille example of an evaluate goal is the student will critique a passage to identify any errors and evaluate the quality of erasures and the equal height of dots from a self-written passage with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is critique a passage to identify any errors and evaluate the quality of erasures and the equal height of dots. The condition is from a self-written passage, and the criteria is 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. I'm going to change the goal slightly to better identify the needs of my student. I'm going to change it to a paragraph that was orally presented and she wrote, so I can compare it to a standard. The goal now reads, the student will Braille a dictated paragraph and evaluate it by identifying any errors, the quality of erasures, and the equal height of dots with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A low vision example for an evaluate goal is the student will select the appropriate low vision tool to use for a given task. For example, distance viewing, on a vertical plane, or to complete written work, with unprompted use and 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is select the appropriate low vision tool to use for a given task. The condition is with unprompted use, and the criteria is 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by specifying whether this will take place during one-on-one instruction or if this is to take place within the general education classroom or total school environment. I'm also going to add standard size reading passages to the examples. The goal now reads, the student will select the appropriate low vision tool to use for a given task, for example, distance viewing on vertical plane, to read standard size reading passages or to complete written work with unprompted use within his general education classrooms with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A visual efficiency example of an evaluate goal is the student will compare 2 pictures and identify 8 things that are different about the pictures made of tactual shapes and lines with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is compare 2 pictures and identify 8 things that are different about them. The condition is pictures made with tactual shapes and lines, and the criteria is 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by specifying if this takes place in a quiet one-on-one environment or if it takes place within the classroom setting with some visual and auditory distractors. The goal now reads, the student will compare 2 pictures and identify 8 things that are different about the pictures made of tactual shapes and lines during one-on-one instruction with minimal auditory distractors with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A video magnifier example of an evaluate goal is the student will adjust the settings, for example, zoom, columns, contrast, line guides, etc., on a video magnifier to access a variety of environmental print ranging in size from 5-point to 14-point font with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is adjust the settings on a video magnifier. The condition is to access a variety of environmental print that is 5-point to 14-point font, and the criteria is 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by identifying the setting in which it takes place or for it to happen with unprompted use. The goal now reads, the student will adjust the settings, for example, zoom, columns, contrast, line guides, etc., on a video magnifier to access a variety of environmental print ranging in size from 5-point to 14-point font within the general education classrooms with unprompted use with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A technology example of an evaluate goal is a student will revise a typed assignment in a word processing document using keyboard commands to edit and format with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is revise a typed assignment in a word processing document. The condition is using keyboard commands to edit and format, and the criteria is 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by specifying the length of the assignment and the commands the student will use. For this student, I'm going to change it from assignment to a presented paragraph. The goal now reads, the student will revise a typed paragraph in a word processing document using keyboard commands to edit and format, select all, copy, cut, paste, enlarge font size, reduce font size, select a word, center a text, left justify, right justify, with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. The highest level in Bloom's taxonomy is create. The goal is a create goal if the goal focuses on the student's ability to put together the separate ideas to form new ideas or establish new relationships. The following action words can fall into this level: arrange, assemble, collect, combine, compose, construct, create, design, develop, devise, formulate, manage, integrate, invent, make, modify, organize, perform, plan, prepare, produce, propose, predict, reconstruct, revise, rewrite, set up, and devise. A Braille example of a create goal is the student will revise a Braille passage following guidelines of the assignment, Braille rules, and with dots of equal heights with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is revise a Braille passage. The condition is following guidelines of the assignment, Braille rules, and with dots of equal heights. And the criteria is 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. Again, this goal could be made smarter by specifying the length of the passage. The goal now reads, the student will revise a self-written paragraph following guidelines of the assignment, Braille rules, and with dots of equal heights with 80% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A low vision device example of a create goal is the student will create a presentation, PowerPoint, demonstration, etc. about her visual impairment and the tools and strategies she uses and present the completed project to her teachers at the beginning of the school year with 80% consistency on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is create a presentation about her visual impairment and the tools and strategies she uses and present the completed project to her teachers. The condition is at the beginning of the school year. And the criteria, 80% consistency on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal could be made smarter by specifying the total duration time of the presentation and what features need to be included, and that it needs to follow accessibility standards. Even if the student doesn't require all accessibility standards, I make sure they incorporate them. I think it's important for them to understand that they also need to accommodate for other people's needs. And if the student does need the accommodation, they need to learn how to create them so they can self-advocate by helping others know how to create them. The goal now reads, the student will create an accessible presentation, PowerPoint demonstration, etc., no longer than 5 minutes in duration about her visual impairment, each tool she uses, and classroom accommodations she needs, and present the completed project to her teachers at the beginning of the school year with 80% consistency on 4 of 5 opportunities. A visual efficiency example of a create goal is a student will create a picture following written directions on the visual placement of materials without a model with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is create a picture following written directions on the visual placement of materials. The condition is without a model, and the criteria 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal can be made smarter by specifying the number of directions presented for each opportunity. The goal now reads, the student will create a picture following 10 written directions on the visual placement of materials without a model with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. A video magnifier example of a create goal is a student will put away and set up his portable video magnifier and laptop in each classroom properly and according to needs with 90% accuracy and on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is put away and set up his portable video magnifier and laptop. The condition is in classroom and according to needs, and the criteria is 90% on 4 of 5 opportunities. I'm going to change this goal slightly, but I believe it will make it more appropriate for the student and also make it more measurable. I'll do this by changing the phrase according to needs, which is hard to measure, to prior to instruction. The goal now reads, the student will put away and set up his portable video magnifier and laptop in each classroom properly prior to instruction beginning with 90% accuracy and on 4 of 5 opportunities. A technology example of a create goal is the student will compose a 250-word essay utilizing computer shortcut keys to edit and format the document with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. In this goal, the target behavior is compose a 250-word essay. The condition is utilizing computer shortcut keys to edit and format the document, and the criteria is 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. This goal can be made smarter by specifying the shortcut keys the student needs to use. The goal now reads, the student will compose a 250-word essay utilizing computer shortcut keys to edit and format the document. Select all, copy, cut, paste, enlarge font size, reduce font size, select a word, center a text, left justify, right justify, with 90% accuracy on 4 of 5 opportunities. I hope you found the process of dissecting goals and rewriting them to make them smarter to be a helpful process. In addition to being smarter, you should make sure you use clear, concise wording. You don't want to look at the goals a week later and wonder what you meant or question how to measure success. Also, avoid any VI jargon and be sure that anyone picking up the IEP and reviewing your information and goals would understand the intent and how to implement the goal and measure progress. Creating your data collection sheets ahead of time can really be useful in determining if the goal is written in a way that is easy to collect data on. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's written a goal just to hate the way I worded it just a few weeks into implementation. Learn from your mistakes. I have found that if I write my data collection sheets ahead of time, meaning before the IEP is written, I can go back and adjust my criteria to ensure it is measurable and easy to collect data on. Once you begin implementing your goal, be sure to maintain your data collection. I find it helpful to keep my data collection in a binder that I bring with me to my schools. This way, I always have it with me and I can take notes as I'm working with the student or immediately afterwards. This doesn't always happen in the moment, so set a time aside either at the end of the day or on certain days to enter information while it is still fresh in your mind. Always be professional with the way you word your documentation, as these can be pulled and reviewed. Use this information to summarize progress in quarterly progress reports. My favorite means of data collection are those that are low burden. By that I mean they are integrated into the instructional process. I like to use worksheets as data collection, particularly in working on Braille reading skills and fluency, developing a consistent signature, and with visual efficiency and low vision tool use. I use the literary Braille checklist when I'm working on the Braille code with students. I use the thematic sentences and circle errors on the sim Braille as the student reads the embossed Braille. And I use the visual efficiency and magnifier use worksheets with students using low vision devices and save their work as my data. If the student is working on developing a consistent signature, I have them sign the worksheet at the beginning of the activity so I can document the progress on the same sheet. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found the information on creating IEPs and writing smarter goals to be useful. I have listed here my school address along with my website address and email so you can connect with me.